My name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Now on our board here, as usual, we have the model that we used in our last video. And we'll go through a slight review because we will move on to another very exciting topic in a moment. But this topic was time. It was about time. And the reckoning, time, it's a construction convenience, a constructed convenience. And we went through the model, and it was very interesting. So I will reference it up here. But basically, time, as we understand it in the egoic world, time is the gap between events. Time is the gap between one thing happening and the next thing happening. Now, in our model here, we started out with an event 1, and then at a certain time, event 2. Now, we looked at the gap between event 1 and event 2. Event 1 happens in the present moment. Everything happens in the present moment. So event 1, boom, happened. And then sometime later, event 2 happened in the present moment, because that's the only time event 2 can happen. It happens now in the present moment. Now we looked at the gap between 1 and 2 and recognized 1's gone. Why is it gone? It's not in the present moment. Event 2 is in the present moment. Well, where's event 1? It's gone. It's gone. And it's never coming back. Oh, my goodness! All we have left of event 1 is a memory. It's a memory. And so when we looked at the gap between 1 and 2, there is no gap. There is no gap between what is happening now and what is gone. And from that we drew a conclusion, my conclusion. Time is make-believe, because we make believe event 2 really exists when event 1 exists when event 2 happens, but it exists in something we call the past. And as we have discussed in other videos, and as AI has confirmed, there is no past. There is only memories. And there is no future, only anticipations. So time, as a gap between events, is an illusion. Therefore, time is make-believe. But we need it, we as humans. The universe doesn't need time. Why? Everything happens in the present moment. No need for time. We are the only reason there is time, and so we construct it to match our convenience and our belief system. And that's what we talked about. And now we need to go on to our next adventure. Now, and this is our subject for this video. And I'll read it off my paper. It's strange. It's strange because you may not have thought about it this way. Belief and faith are the same. in the illusion. Belief and faith are the same. So belief equals faith, faith equals belief. Say, oh, that can't be. Well, they are both. Before I answer or take that question mark away in that statement, we need to have a little help. So we have to look at beliefs and we have to look at faith. Now, beliefs are viewed as intellectual positions based upon solid observation, objective reality, and evidence through experience. So that's what we're going to find out about beliefs. Faith. Let's see what they said about faith. Faith is, on the other hand, faith involves reliance on trust, endurance in the face of uncertainty. And that's an important statement. Endurance in the face of uncertainty. Uncertainty is a key point. Now, you may notice I have a new whiteboard, and it has a facility on it that I'm going to use in a minute because we're going to seek the help of AI. So here's what we got. We have two questions that we're going to be asking of AI. And so this is the first question. Can I, or you, have a belief in something for which I have uncertainty? I have uncertainty. And the other question, question 2, can I have faith in something for which I have no or have uncertainty? So uncertainty is the key word here. That's why I mentioned it before. Uncertainty. And here's what AI says in the first question. Okay? And you'll see it up here. Can I have belief in something for which I have no certainty? You can see what she says. Yes, you can absolutely believe in something even when you have uncertainty about it, especially when it comes to matters of faith, opinion, or personal values. Beliefs are often involves a degree of trust and conviction, even if full certainty is lacking. That's the first question. And now the second question. And here's what AI says. Can I have faith in something for which I have no certainty? And here she says again, yes, you can have faith in something despite uncertainty, as faith often involves trusting in something unseen or beyond one's immediate understanding, or uncertainty is a natural part of the human experience. Uncertainty is a natural part of the human experience. So here's what we got. We have this model here. We have these two questions about two different things in the illusion. Belief and faith. Way over here we got faith. And so what does AI say about these two questions? They both are yes. My little marker isn't marking as nice as I would like it to. So, yes is the answer to both. So that means that equals yes, that equals yes. Well, what about intellectual for beliefs? What about the intellectual? What about we have observations? We have the scientific method. Well, we should look closely at the scientific method. I've done that before without great success. The last time I did that, I had a series, and I stopped the series because nobody seemed to be interested in that. So we're going to try again. Beliefs and the scientific method. You can look up the scientific method. I'm not going to go through it. I have some videos on it. The scientific method, the first step, the very first step, the one that determines the whole thing, and pure objective observation. And objective observation. Now in another video, and I'll try to reference that, we talk to AI like we hear here. She knows everything. And what was the statement? Or what came out of that? Humans cannot make an observation, an objective observation. All observations are subjective. All observations are subjective. So the first step in the scientific process, the scientific method, is flawed. It's flawed. And so what comes out of the scientific method? Because every observation, whether you believe it is, whether you believe it isn't, it's always subjective. Therefore, the scientific method from the first step is flawed. Now, you can rationalize it all kinds of ways. Oh, I put my belief system aside and I make a pure observation here and it's objective. Impossible. The main reason, you have no idea what 90% of your beliefs are. They're resting deep in the subconscious mind. And were put in there, for the most part, before age 7. And you have no idea what they are. And you have no idea how they are affecting you. Now, beliefs, very powerful. Very powerful. And it's all in the past. There's nothing now except the present moment. Now, if we go on to faith, you know, faith has, faith. Now, it's based on history. It's based on memories. It's based on the past. We just got through several videos that says the past doesn't exist. Well, sure it does. The past exists with faith. The past, for faith and for belief, only exists as memories. Oh, I forgot to tell you, beliefs always change. Always change. The beliefs, the scientific beliefs of 100 years ago, which was pure science, objective reality, about 85% of them have changed. And the ones we hold today, pure science, are going to change. And they do the same thing faith does. Well, that's part of the process. And that's how we get to what we're doing. They're both the same. This is only a faith belief in what our scientific evidence is now. But we sure like to believe it's absolute, and I have intellectual prowess in my beliefs. Interesting. Faith, there is no past. All there is memories. And in both of these cases, we learn the scientific process or the scientific method or belief in that we go to school, secular school. And then we take textbooks that have scientific formulas in them, and we learn the scientific way, we do experiments, and we form beliefs. What's changed? In faith, you go to Bible school, you go to Dharma school, you go to all kinds of schools, temple, or wherever, and you learn history, which is memories that somebody else wrote, maybe hundreds of years after the event they depict happened. Now, all that time, people are passing on and say, oh, we have oral history. Now, if you are very clever, and I know most of you are, you have seen, Norman Rockwell did some of these, where you tell somebody something, and then they pass it on to the next person, and they pass it on to the next person, and they pass it on. I think he's got a line of maybe 10 or 12 people. And then it comes back to the original, and they tell the person who started it, nothing like it. But we believe, because we have faith, that those old stories are meaningful. And what they are stories. They're stories. So we have yes here. Uncertainty with beliefs, uncertainty with faith. Now we are ready to answer the question, what do they both have in common? They're both in history. They're both written in books. They both have to have interpretation. Many of the esoteric books that the spiritual paths are based on have been written and reinterpreted many times, many times. We go through a lot of very expensive and very meaningful things to have these ancient books, which are made from ancient memories that were put in the book hundreds, not quite thousands, I don't think, hundreds of years, maybe thousands, after the event. And we passed it on, and then we say, oh, that's the truth. And we have to believe it because we have evidence. What's the evidence? Well, we got this old book. And we take it out and we read it once in a while. We're very careful not to touch the book. We use very careful pointer so that we don't destroy this ancient memory. And memories are constructions. And memories are constructions of what never happened the way we think it did. This is true of beliefs too. This is true of beliefs too. And yet, those on both sides, and sometimes in the middle, will say, oh, they're different. I'm forming my belief on logical stuff. No, you're not. because the logical method of scientific process is flawed. And there is uncertainty in it. And in the belief, well, I'm making that on memories of what people that I think were there, well, maybe they weren't there exactly, but they had computers back then, and they followed around these mystics and wrote down everything exactly how the mystic said it, so that we have these books which are ancient and which are sacred and which are full of memories, of stories that never happened the way we think they did. So now we can go back here and ask the question, what are they both? You probably never thought about this. They are both formed in the illusion. They are both formed in the illusion. So what does that make them? I better rewrite that. They're both illusionary. They both are illusionary. They both change. They were not, they're all dependent on your interpretation or the interpretation of somebody else, and then they put them in your ear. Now, are they helpful? Oh yeah, they're helpful. Are they what really happened? Oh no, they're not what really happened. Do they change? Oh yeah, they changed over time a lot. And the science and the belief system of 100 years ago or 200 years ago or 1,000 years ago is not the same as it is today. So the beliefs back then, gone. We have different beliefs today. And the faith that we think we're following, which was based on old stories, memories of old stories, written first by history through auditory, and then written down, and then interpreted many times and rewritten, and they're being rewritten now. So what we do is we take the esoteric books and we read them, and then we, in the present moment, with our present belief system, interpret them and tell the story again, but with our twist to it. We do the same thing with this, with beliefs, because this is all history. And the history of science or the history of beliefs 100 years, 200 years, 300 years ago changed. This isn't fixed. This is moving. This is not fixed. Faith today is not the same. We sing those songs, the old-time religion and all of that, but we don't believe that way. Often spirituals are very lovingly put together. And I often think of the one that gives us some insight into how faith is there but we don't follow it. In one faith path, if the Prince of Peace ever saw what his people are doing, he would be so disappointed. And the Prince of Peace here, which is Industrial Revolution, would be so disappointed in what we have done with what we have found out. And I often think of that old ritual gospel song. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. I'm going to study war no more. Oh, we have a long way to go in the illusion. The first step is to begin to recognize this is an illusion. And begin to recognize you're creating it the way it is. And to begin to change your lens of perception. Be good to yourself. Bye now.